Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk. What's up, y'all? Big Herc 916 getting down fresh out. And back to the old format of Prison Talk that you guys love. You know, we tried something different with the podcast, but the views dropped off, you know, the subs dropped off, and, you know, the numbers tell the tale. So I know some of you guys support the podcast and actually had an email from a viewer about the podcast. If you haven't got a chance to check out the old podcast, go to www.FreshOutSeries.com, download the podcast, still support, but we can't really do both. We don't have the time in our schedules to be running the podcast and shooting the Prison Talks at this time, so we're just going to do the Prison Talks for the next month or so and see what happens, and if we have time to re-implement the podcast, we'll go back to that, but just giving you guys a heads up. This particular viewer, his title of his email was "Don't Kill the Podcast." Who the fuck said podcast sucks? It's awesome. Big Ant is so smart and eloquent. I love the conversations you two are having. Keep the podcast. It's aight. Don't listen to the haters who haven't made a single YouTube video. Hey man, I agree with you. You know, I thought the podcast was well put together. I thought it was intellectual. It was articulate. It was you know, more diverse in the level of conversation, but you know, a lot of people want to hear the lower frequency conversations, the splitting wigs, busting cheeks, you know, inmates fucking up other inmates, people getting stabbed, you know, and so that element, even though it's not the direction we're going in, is something that feeds the audience masses. There's other channels out there, I'm not gonna name no names, but they talk about that bullshit. But we try to implement other things to kind of expand your horizon, get you thinking, you know, create conversation so that you don't want to go to prison. There's nothing fascinating about prison. I don't know why you guys love that shit so much. You know, we like to talk about different things to, you know, bring awareness as far as, you know, inmate like say relations as far as visitation, new laws, you know, different things that are going on in different cities across our country with the jail system. But all in all, man, prison, jail, it's all fucked up. The people that run it, you know, they're there, a lot of them to get to actually for a job, to do a job. And then you have other ones who get there and they do a job and they become an asshole. And so it's just a horrible environment. A lot of people that go in and out of there, they thrive in there. And, you know, my whole thing is life after. You know, there's lockup for people who love the shows where you're talking about life in prison. But our show is about life after. And life after is about what you're doing now. You know, what is that motherfucking inmate with the bald head, with the motherfucking tattoo on the side of it? What is he doing on the streets? How's he surviving? You know, I'm trying to holler at him. I don't give a fuck about the dude in prison. When I was in prison, I didn't even socialize with them motherfuckers. I wasn't running around the yard and hanging out with motherfuckers on the gambling table and, you know, shooting dice or playing chess. That wasn't my program. So I don't talk about that. So to the guys out there who say I'm cooning, that wasn't my motherfucking program. I was studying. I was preparing myself, and I knew that if I didn't prepare myself when I got out, I wasn't gonna make it. So I prepared myself, and when I got out, I did some things to get on my feet, and now I have this show, and me and Big Ant try to, you know, educate you guys. And if you see my last video where I went and talked to Fremont Academy in Pomona, I'm trying to help the kids, man. I don't wanna see them in the motherfucking penitentiaries. It ain't no fucking honor in walking around jail, you know, hanging around a bunch of motherfucking dicks and butts. You know what I mean? It ain't no honor in having to shit in front of another grown man or having somebody look in your asshole to see if you got contraband. Ain't no honor in that shit. So the podcast was going in a more, educational, intellectual direction, and we're still going there, but we got to throw in the prison talks for these guys who like the grimy shit, because like I said, if we're not getting the views or the subs, we can't sustain this channel. Ain't nobody financing us. We're not in here balling off this channel. People think, oh man, nah man, this channel, we put everything back into it. The production, the camera equipment, the travel expenses, all this shit goes back into Fresh Out. With the apparel, it ain't like we're, trying to sell you something every time we come on. Nah man, we trying to share with you lifestyle, and Fresh Out, the brand, is about having things. It's not about being a broke ass nigga, man. It ain't about being no grimy motherfucker. It ain't about the penitentiary motherfucker who doesn't know how to talk, who cannot interact with mainstream society. That's not what it's about. Fresh Out's about having nice things, from coming from nothing to become something. It's about balling. It's about giving back. It's about positivity. It's about motivation. That's what it's about. So, hey man, I know you said don't kill the podcast, but for right now, we're gonna put it on a hiatus. We'll come back to it when we get a little more time, and Big Ant can, do the editing for all that stuff. But right now, he's already swamped with what we're doing, and we got to kind of, delegate what we're going to do accordingly if we want to keep this channel going and grow this channel. And that's what we're trying to do long term, is grow this channel to become something bigger, so that we can be on, Netflix or Hulu or one of these, other streaming digital formats, and give you guys the raw shit that you need. Big Herc 916 getting down with Fresh Out Prison Talk. Tune into the next one. Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at FreshOutSeries.com.